Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Sober is Dope podcast. I'm your host, Pop Buchanan. I'm really excited today to bring you guys a really important guest, really important to me. This is a superhero segment of the Sober is Dope podcast where I'm bringing you the highest level of expertise in the addiction space. Today, we have the amazing and accomplished Dr. Robb Kelly. Dr. Robb, how are you feeling today?
Oh, man, thank you for that introduction. I'm feeling great now. I'm feeling amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's going to be a great show.
It's going to be a great show. Well, Doc, I want to start off by saying a few things. You and I have a lot of similar traits in our stories. And the one that really stood out to me was our rock bottom points where we was compelled to really get on our knees and make a connection, to cry out. It's a public display one, and it's the pivotal point in every addict's life where we realize we're powerless, we're sick of the compulsion, we don't want to die, and we're absolutely broken. And this is a sacred point for me and for you, because in both of our cases, this is where God somehow and spirituality came into the fold. And for you and me also, there's two angels that I like to say. In my case, it was a nurse and a doctor who made an extreme, they gave me a shot when I didn't have insurance and no one wanted to help me out. They didn't believe I was sick enough. I knew I was sick. I knew I was going to die, Doc. This nurse gave me hope. She prayed with me. She said, I'm going to make an emergency plea to the director of the hospital. The director of the hospital came down and said, kid, if you're serious, I'm going to give you a shot, but you have to be serious. And I said, I want to go all the way. I don't want to die. And that was the beginning of my story. They allowed me to go on to detox. In your case, you're on your knees, you're crying out, and mysteriously, this angelic man comes around with a Bible in his hand and asks you if you want help. These are two acts of mercy and two miraculous instances that we both share. I just briefly want to talk about these angels in your life, the man with the Bible and the man that you describe as John from AA, who mysteriously vanishes, but after giving you about a good 2 to 3 weeks of spiritual advisory. Can you talk about mercy and spirituality with addiction when we're at that rock bottom point?
Well, the rock bottom point for me, I've been on the streets for 14 months. This is a guy that went to Oxford University, came from a trailer park, but did really well for himself as a musician, and put myself from school. So you wouldn't expect me to be on the streets.
Absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't anyway. So when I finally ended up there, I was sad. Everybody abandoned me. Everybody left me on the streets to die. I mean, everybody. Friends, acquaintances, family wouldn't even speak to me. I used to call my mom and go, hey, mom, just put the phone down. It was sad. It was horrible. About 14 months in, I was down about 150 pounds. I was dying. I tried to commit suicide 6 times. On 2 occasions, it worked. I was dead for 1 minute and 90 seconds, and he brought me back to life. I'm walking down this back entrance in Manchester, United Kingdom. It's dark. It's raining. It's 2:30 in the morning. I drop down to my hands and knees, and I start to cry from my belly. Not from my throat, but from my belly. And I'm sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And the rain's coming down, and my snot and my tears, and everything's just done. And I looked up to the sky, and I don't know why I did this to this day, but I just looked up to the sky and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And that's all I said. And then I put my head down, and the next minute I heard these footsteps, and a guy came straight over to me. He didn't walk past me or look at me. He walked straight over to me as if he was on a mission. And he said, hey, man, do you need help? And I said, yeah, I'm dying. And he helped me get up, and we walked to that man had missed his last bus home from a Bible study and been walking for 4 hours to get to his house. We was near his house. He took me back to his house, and he said, you can stay here for as long as you like till you get on your feet, on one condition. You've got to come to AA with me tomorrow. And I didn't want to go. I hated AA. I'd been there before. It wasn't for me. But I had to try bed for the first time in 14 months, so I agreed. While I was there, the aforementioned John was halfway around the room, and he said, my name's John, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I thought, what did he just say? He had a white beard and white hair, spoke elegantly, held a big book in his hand, talked about God. It was like he was wearing armor. You know, God will save you. God will do this. You know, it tells you the big book about God. It mentions Jesus Christ in the big book. And, you know, I went to his house for 8 weeks, there and back, once a week, 8 miles there, 8 miles back, every single week for 8 weeks. So I knew the way there.
Yes.
I couldn't afford bus fare, but I walked there. It took me about an hour and a half to get there. And we'd go in, we'd study the book, we'd come out. The final day there, I went through the second half of the step 12, and I left him. I left that man a different person. Wow. My DNA had changed. I got back home, and within a week, I got a little part-time job. Within 2 weeks, I got into a halfway house. So I bought John a little card and a little teddy bear, and I wrote on him, "Thank you for introducing me to God." And I did the same walk I've been doing for 8 weeks. I got to the apartment, and there's nobody there. I'm knocking on the door, and the next door neighbor opens the apartment door, and she said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Can you tell me where John's moved to?" And she said, "There's been no one in that apartment for 6 months that I know of." So I'm thinking, oh, she's cuckoo, like, let her shut the door. Went down to the other ones, knocked on his door, and a guy came. He looked pretty sensible, had shirt and tie on. So this guy's not crazy, obviously. "Can you tell me where John's gone?" And he said, "I've only been living here a year, and since I've been here, there's been nobody in that apartment." Never found him.
Wow. When I heard that story, I definitely thought divine intervention.
Yes.
God put angels in our life. And, you know, since then, over 25 plus years, you've been helping people. So that means that God intended for you to really help change the world. And sometimes you never know, there's some really amazing divine intervention. That's an amazing story and testimony, and I appreciate you sharing that. So now I want to talk about specifically trauma. All right. In my case, there's a big connection between trauma and addiction. And can you talk about, if we start off with an origin point, the connection between childhood trauma and addiction for the people out there, maybe in your cases, you know, with your past patients, or in general, childhood trauma, does that really have a role? Is that one of the origin points of addiction in your opinion?
It's pivotal. In our case studies, it shows that, first of all, the alcoholic, let's say, for instance, is born with the addictive brain. You can track it back in your family. You can track the family tree back. So it goes back. Trauma can kick it off. It has 95% input is the trauma as a kid, because it remaps our brain. So what do we look at trauma as? Well, here's my opinion. Anything less than nurturing as a child is child abuse. You've heard it, I've heard it. Get up there, you stupid idiot. Don't be silly, you can't do that. Now, you're not that clever, your sister is. All these things the young brain will take in. And the minute they have alcohol or drugs taken into the system, and the brain goes, they've been suppressed for all that time. Oh my God, here's something that goes against what my parents and teachers and everyone told me. I'm not stupid. The brain reacts differently. Everything gets lit up. The neurons are firing for the first time probably ever. And you think, wow, this is it. But it's the trauma. There's always, always, always trauma. And people haven't been looking at this. They're starting to now and say, well, there might be some similarity. Always trauma. And you have to go back to the scene of the crime, and you have to clear that up, because if you don't, that's going to kill you. End of story.
Bottom line, I love it. I love it. In my case, I trace my trauma back to bereavement and the loss of my father, and those repressed emotions were never really dealt with properly. So on a podcast, we talk about how the brain changes through trauma, through neuroplasticity, right? And it's very important for people to understand that a loss, a divorce, some form of rejection, maybe a bad fight, some unresolved issue in your life can result as trauma, and then it creates this mental health component. So for me, it was bereavement. I had to go do the work with my father. I had to sit with a bereavement counselor. In addition to that, I had to sit with a therapist. I had to have a psychiatrist. So that brings me to my next thing, comorbid addiction, comorbidity in addiction. having a dual diagnosis, sometimes your drug or alcoholism could be fueled by mental health issues, or the mental health could be fueled by drugs or alcohol. How do you see comorbidity and these dual diagnoses playing out in your treatment? And lastly, there's a lot of treatment centers who just deal with one aspect. They may just deal with the addiction. They don't deal with the mental health aspect. I think they should be combined in all cases. What's your opinion there? Can you talk about comorbidity in recovery?
Yeah, it happens more than people think. You know, people come to us at Robb Kelly Recovery Group, and the first thing they say is, "Hey, doc, you don't understand. I'm also depressed. Yeah, we know. I also have bipolar. Yeah, we know. And also, and they give us this string of things because they're all matched in. Because alcohol, first of all, is a depressant. Most drugs are depressant. If you're taking amphetamines or cocaine enough, then obviously the neurons stop firing. You start to get depressed. So it comes in an array of things. If it was easy as just stop drinking or stop using, the treatment centers would be empty. You know, it's nothing to do with that, because we grab these childhood remapped brains. Because I have self-sabotaging neural pathways built in, ingrained in my brain. The other stuff that I learn is billions in the head. Driving a car is new neural pathways. But my self-sabotaging ones are ingrained. It's the go-to every time. And here's what we find: the hypothalamus at the back of the brain, just near the prehistoric brain, it's a fight or flight part of the brain. It will secrete into the brain and telling the normal human being to survive by drinking water and eating food. It's the two primary instincts. With the alcoholic brain, it tells it to drink alcohol when it gets under stress. So that's why alcoholics can go weeks, if not months, without food or water. They just survive on beer because that's what it's telling them. So that in itself causes an array of problems, from nerve damage endings to depression, to psychosis. I mean, it comes in a bunch, and to leave the childhood part, the depression, bipolar, schizophrenic, whatever it may be, to leave them out and say, well, that's a different matter, I think you're heading for trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for that. In my case, I would be able to drink for long period of times. Then even when you show me water, I looked at, oh, get that away from me, and oh, food, ooh, I couldn't even eat, and I just kept, and it was right, that parasympathetic response in our brain was kind of hijacked, and our relationship with dopamine. So that brings me to my next question. Can you talk about what happens when there's a psychic change or neural pathway change due to having a spiritual experience, and how that affects a DNA change in recovery?
The spiritual experience and the psychic change together is two forces coming together. It's the realization, and it's God taking control of you. This is my research going over 27 years. And you can Google this, my name, it'll tell you your DNA changes. And the way your DNA changes, because one, neuroplasticity, and two, we can't forget the body complete. So we have a spiritual awakening. Something happens inside the body where the DNA changes so slightly. Why is this important? Because the same man will drink again. If you still have the same mindset, you're going to relapse. If you still have the same body's mannerisms, you're going to relapse. If you keep hanging around the guys you used to hang with, you're going to relapse. I have a favorite saying over it: show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Absolutely. If you're hanging around drunks and alcoholics and drug dealers, you're going to die a drug dealer or an alcoholic. You need to get out there. There's no point in creating in your head, like I did, $1 million lifestyle when you're hanging around a 10-cent brain. You can't do it. You've got to step away. You've got to make that move. And no alcoholic or addict likes changes. And this is part of the body as well. Get it into your head that once you have the psychic change, which is a change of mind, something spiritual, and a spiritual awakening, which means now you find a higher power, something greater and bigger than you that you can tap into and give all the problems in. Therefore, the whole structure of the body changes, because now you're filled with his power. Like that big book, when I read it, he says, I'm empowered to help other alcoholics. I'm not just, hey, let's get rid. I'm empowered. And when you get up in the morning and say to yourself, today is going to be an amazing day because I'm empowered, and whatever I do today is going to be absolutely fantastic. That's what happens. But watch the self-dialogue. Self-dialogue will kill people like me and you, but
Yes, yes, absolutely. So now I'm glad you segued into self-dialogue. We talk a lot about on the Sober is Dope podcast, especially we study the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, a lot of your work, and Joe Dispenza, and we understand that it's very important to watch our internal dialogue. And you said something really pivotal earlier. You was talking about that default brain, that default programming that we actually go to. So they say, show me the first 7 years and I'll show you the man, right? Like it's an old monk saying. So we believe that our subconscious programming happens the first 7 years of our life. And that's where, we pick up the negative traits from our environment. And there's this theory that our environment and our perception of our environment affects our internal environment, our health, our mindset, and everything like that. So the thoughts that we actually think we could change by being conscious, mindful, practicing mindfulness meditation, and using positive affirmations to reel it in and being conscious of that. Can you talk about, I know there's aspects of your aftercare treatment where you deal with something called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and if that helps that internal dialogue?
Oh, without a doubt, it's 100%. We swear by NLP. I'm an NLP practitioner, and basically what we're doing is we're planting thought patterns, words, and mannerisms while we're talking to you without you knowing. So that might be like, instead of drinking 40 cans of Coca-Cola a day, we think it's a great idea, Mr. Smith, if you started drinking water every day. And then we say today, hey, listen, how about us picking you up tomorrow morning to bring you to the office? So we pick him up, and my driver will take him past every billboard in San Antonio that has water advertised. So by the time he gets into the office, we say to him, so what would you like to drink? And he says, oh, give me a Evian water, please. That's NLP. When you're planting things like you are, well, this is it, and fantastic, and by the way, you're just freaking amazing, and then you go into something else, and you come back and go, hey, you're fantastic, and then you go back, because if I tell you a lie often enough, you're going to believe it. And if I tell you a lie real often enough, I'm going to believe it.
Yes.
So you're just planting these little things inside your head to make sure that you believe, and the subconscious brain will grab that. Yes. But what we need to do is we need to get it to the prefrontal cortex, which only job is to come up with a solution to a problem. That's the only job that this part of the brain has. And it does very quick. But if you can plant stuff in the subconscious brain, there's more chance of you going for water than going to the liquor store or the drug dealer, because it's already planted. So we continue that. And we continue to tell people that they're amazing, they're fantastic, you're unbelievable, I'm so proud of you, you're one of my heroes, I look up to you, all this stuff. The brain goes, yeah, give me some of that, because I've never heard it. Correct. Again, back to childhood. No attaboys off the dad or the mom through school. Nobody tells us, look at what you do, man. You're amazing at what you do. When's the last time someone looked you in your face and said, you know what you do is life-changing, man, life-changing? Because people think, Doc already knows. Doc already knows. We don't. And this is why it's important to compliment 3 people every single day, because complimenting people changes lives. Words are so powerful, it's unreal. Let me tell you something real quick. We had a patient come in. His name was John L. He came in, we did a session, he started to drive home. My assistant came in the office and said, I've got some bad news. John L's father has just been killed in a car accident. I don't know why they call the office. I said, don't worry, I'll call him. So I get on the phone and I said, John, pull over, and he's pulling over. And I told him the bad news, and he's sobbing, absolute sobbing. I said, are you okay? He said, no, I can't control my hands. I've just wet myself. Oh, God, I can't do this. I'm losing control. And I put the phone down, and next minute, my assistant didn't even knock. She burst through the door. I said, oh my God, Dr. Kelly, we've got the wrong John. It's John B, not John L. So I'm like, well, you call John B and explain. Let me call John L back. So I called him back, and we settled everything down. And he obviously was just amazed that it wasn't him. But then he got me thinking, his body, his mind, he shakes, he's wetting himself just on my words. Not even true. Wow. Over the phone. Wow. So if words can have that much effect on a human being, Can you imagine if we told people good stuff every day?
Yes.
How much effect that has?
Yes.
You see, you know, Gordon Ramsay's a great friend of mine, and we're in his kitchen once in London, and we're having dinner or something, and he turns around to me and said, "Rob, do you know I'm the best chef in the world?" And I said, "Yeah, because you can cook well." But hell no. There's loads more better cooks than me. I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I tell everybody." And that blew my mind.
Wow.
And I started calling myself the best addictionologist in the world. Now I have the confidence of the best addictionologist in the world, just like he has the best confidence, the best chef in the world. There may be somebody out of Mongolia somewhere that can kick his ass when it comes to cooking, but the mindset says no. Once you can visualize it, you can hold it in your hand.
Absolutely.
Time and time again. And people look at this and go, it's like a bit of a myth. Quantum physics, man. Quantum physics tells us, let's say a basketball court, quantum physics tells us a well-known fact and a fantastic science that I'm 25 places on that court at the same time. That's how the real eye could see if you could see that quick. Correct. Where do I want to be? I want to be over near the goal. I get the ball, I pop it in the basket, and I'm the hero. So how do we get there? Well, we walk over and we take the position.
Absolutely.
Interview for it.
Yep.
Ask for it.
You just
we don't get scared about it.
Yep.
You've already seen yourself over there. Go and take it. It's all yours.
Yep. You have to own it. You have to own it. Yes. I love that. And you know, you're talking about a lot of great things here. And I realized over the years with like the law of attraction, the foundations of just the thinking things into existence, owning things. The one thing that people miss in that equation is that you have to visualize, you have to say it. It has to be something that you repeat, but it's also to seal the deal and to create the magic of the manifestation. You have to fuel it with emotion. You have to actually feel it. So you can visually put yourself there, but if you don't really believe it, then it's not going to have a foundation to hold. So when you say I'm the best, yeah, if you believe it, you are the best. If no one else could see it yet, that's their problem. Eventually, it'll come into manifestation. So that's what I tell people out there. With my recovery, I think for me, I used to visualize. Once I got into that first day, I got that first bed miraculously, and I was lucky. I visualized my endpoint. I visualized getting my houses back. I visualized repairing the relationship with my loved ones and my girlfriend, and everything. We're talking about 8 years or 7.5 years ahead, and look where we are now. You know, in my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be on a live with Dr. Robb Kelly, right? But that's manifestation. I walked into my truth and I held it close. So my next thing I want to ask you about is our friend, Dr. Carl Jung, right? I always tell people when we study Dr. Carl Jung and the foundations of AA, he had a phrase that he was believed to have spoken to Roland H. Spiritus contra spiritum, right? The spirit that you need a bigger spirit than the spirit of the addiction to conquer the addiction, right? Can you talk to us about Carl Jung and his work in addiction, how that plays into your treatment and the concept of spiritus contra spiritum?
Well, the psychology and the psychiatry that he was into was far before its time. And he realized stuff in the brain that was happening that only 10 years ago, the medical fraternity was like, wow, the brain's plastic. Let's call it neuroplasticity. Well, Carl Jung was discovering this many, many years ago, as we know. And his insights into the brain regarding addiction and alcoholism was way before its time. And it's a shame it was, because I've done this myself. The program I've got at the moment is years before its time. And people don't understand it. They're a bit scared of it. When I said I've got a 97% success rate, people go, that's impossible. Treatment centers are 4%. Yeah, it's possible. We got records and lots. And I always think I'm the modern day Carl Jung, because he had so many answers, but so little people was listening to him, because it was so amazing what he was trying to say. And first of all, his work around alcoholism didn't really take any weight, because they just used to throw alcoholics in the sanitarium and leave them there to die. So it wasn't a problem. It was just a disgrace when you drank. So I think his work brought into the 19th and 20th century that it's a disease because we have no control over it. It's a manifestation, so it's also an illness and a disease, and they have no control over it. And these are the basic facts that he was coming up with, that the World Health Organization in 1995 finally said, we're going to class alcoholism as a disease. So his work was phenomenal. And he helped so many people and passed so much knowledge on. What a great guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Carl Jung, it helped me out a lot because when my success, so I try to explain to people that I started out through detox and I went to a traditional rehab, and it was an outpatient rehab where I had to take drug tests every day and a urine test to make sure I was clean, go to counseling 2 or 3 times a day. And then I also went to AA, right? But for some people, they have to continue to go. But I feel like I had such a healing and with the spiritual side that it was like almost a supernatural thing where I don't even think about alcohol no more. I'm 100% aware that I cannot drink. I don't play with that. That's something, there's no wiggle room there. I always let people know once you start, first of all, relapse in itself happens on multiple levels before you actually physically relapse. So I tell people don't play with that. Can we talk about that a little bit, about relapse and your experience, how people mentally relapse and psychologically and emotionally and spiritually relapse before they physically relapse, and the stages of relapse?
Alcohol will never come to anybody on a Monday and say, hey, little Johnny, let's relapse today. Never works like that. You look back a week or a few weeks before that, and you trace where you thought Jenny in the corner was a pain in the backside, and John over there is using that stupid Christmas pen 10 months after it's Christmas. And these little niggly things are setting yourself up for a relapse. I call that a relapse when we get in that state and we get lapse in everything that we do. So we stop doing the main focus things, which is doing our daily prayers, doing the mirror work, writing our resentments down, being kind to people during the day, get out at night time, review the day, see what's going on. Now, going to meetings and praying, and 1 or 2 of them will fall out. And they'll fall out because alcoholics and addicts are complacent. And they'll fall out because it doesn't really make a lot of difference. I tell people this thing that I come up with. This is alcoholism for you. If tomorrow morning I told you get up and instead of brush your teeth first thing, I want you to take the toothbrush out, I want you to brush your toes. Now, you can clean your tooth later on during the day, but this is what you do when you go in the bathroom. We've tried it so many times. Guy goes in the first day, he's brushing his toes, he's laughing, calls me up. Yeah, you're crazy, doc. It's just so funny. And after about 3 or 4 days, the funniness wears off, and it now becomes, I don't know, I have to do this. And after about a week to 2 weeks, gets the toothbrush and he brushes his toes. Now he's getting a pain in the ass now because he's late for work. But after that, a couple of days into it, he's going to get up, and he did. He stumbled into the bathroom because he didn't sleep well. And he's late for work, and he automatically brushed his teeth. And that's alcoholism addiction. Unless you've got it on the window and you walk in and do it on a daily basis, you're going to relapse. No matter what you miss out, it's going to relapse.
You're going to relapse. Wow. So you have to do whatever your system is, whatever work was put in place. You have to do that every day. You mentioned resentments and writing down resentments. How is that helpful in recovery? I really, that's new to me. I like that concept, and I think I want to incorporate it. Can you talk to us about the importance of writing down your resentments?
They say that resentments is the #1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. Same with addicts. A resentment is if I piss somebody off or they piss me off. So I'm going up at night time and I'm writing it down because I have the addictive focused brain. Now, people with the addictive focused brain are very smart people. Most of them are fantastic CEOs who've never even touched a drink or drug, but they have the addictive focused, laser focused brain. So what happens is if we get a resentment of somebody, we concentrate. It becomes the main focal point of the day and the night, no matter what it is. And what happens is when we go home and write it down, we take the power out of it. We write them down, I'm resentful at, and then I put my part. Now, here's my part. Was I selfish? Well, yeah, I was really, because I stole $10 off it. And then you write down what you had to say, and then you go to the place next day and you make your amends. Have to make the amends, and then you clear it. It's your side of the street worried about. People think amends are for the other person. They're not for the other person. I don't give a crap about the other person. I walk up to you and I go, hey, Pop, this is yesterday, you know, I did this. I'm really sorry for that. If there's anything I can do to make it up, I will, buddy, bye. And I walk off. That's my amends, mate. That means I can sleep in peace that night.
Yes.
We got someone coming to the practice about 7 years ago, and his daughter had gone missing, run off with a boyfriend. But he came to sue us for $10,000 because he said it was our fault that they'd run off together. It wasn't. My attorney laughed at them. Yeah. And says, we will do these for $100,000 of expenses. And I said, no. I said to the guy, how much do you want? He said, $10,000. I wrote a check for him right there and I give him the check. And he looked at me and he said, why have you done that? And I said, because I'm not sitting with this for the next 2 years until it goes to court, playing tricks with my head. Seeing how, you know, nasty you are and how I could have got away with it. And now I want to go and burn your house down. And all this stuff that manifests in the brain. There's your check. Don't want to see you again. Good luck, sir. And I walked off. Never thought about that again.
Amazing, amazing. So that goes right into, again, going back to the mental health aspect where people we call it rumination, right? Thought rumination. You play things over and over. And then we bring it back to a sense of mindfulness and emotional appraisals, right? And that's important to have a sense of mindfulness and to be at peace. I think fundamentally for us, Doc, is peace. You have to get through, because I feel you, I'm connected with you. In my life, I can't deal with negativity. No. I don't deal with people. I try not to deal with too many people overall. I have a small circle and I surround myself with thoughts and ideas and things and people that are all positive and forward moving, right? I tell people, if you're going to fail forward. Don't be afraid. That brings me to my most important thing that keeps us in that drags us in our addiction, fear and escape, this escapism and fear. Can you talk to us about that for someone out there who's currently right now in the darkness? There's people who listen to the podcast that's still there and then they trying to get help. Can we put fear and escape into perspective for people and really kind of give them some solid advice on how to get over that nasty hump?
Guys, fear will stop you doing anything any good in your life. Fear will tell you you're not good enough. Fear will say you're never going to work. Fear will tell you that it's not going to be you. You're not this clever. Step down. Fear will try and stop you. Fear isn't real. You look at how many times you've been in fear in your life about an occasion. You get to the occasion, the fear has gone. It's done its job. Don't let fear hold you back. Don't let it hold you back. You have an idea. You have something to achieve. You want to do something. You walk forward. If it's not your path, God will take you to a different path. I think the devil is fear. Don't do this. He doesn't want you to go out there and preach. He doesn't want you to go into this, Rob, and save 5,500 lives so far. So the fear came in. I walked through fear. If you've been where I've been, fear doesn't exist for me. You know, you get the nervous when every time I speak. That's good. That's excitement. A little nervous, but fear, no. You look fear in the face. You write that fear down on paper and you screw it up and you throw it away. And you walk and you see, you know, people make practical decisions based on fear. I had a friend once who was a very good comedian in England, a very good comedian. But he was also an architect. So one day this big idea come up, he's going to go for an interview for a show on TV. It was just a one-off. There was 30 people there. We got down to the final 10 and he says, no, I can't do it. I've got a family, I've got kids. I'm going to stay in the job, in the architect job. It's good. The guy that got it, because they would have given it to him, was a multi-millionaire within a year.
Oh
the year after that, my friend got laid off by the company that he was trying to stick with. Practical decisions, guys. We make it with fear. You got to look at it for what it is. Anything you do in life, you can succeed in if you want it. And I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to real close to my phone ask you, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want it? I came to America. What I want to do in America is be on TV, become a millionaire, write a book, do all this stuff. I got speaking very luckily in 1978 to Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was doing a tour before he was famous. He just finished Pumping Iron. It's like a movie that nobody had heard of.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite movies.
Well, I'm sat in a hotel with Arnold, and he's speaking in worse English he does now. And he's talking about mindset, and he's talking about the power of the mind. And I said, okay, then, well, tell me 2 things that you're going to do that I will not believe. And he said, I will become a #1 box office actor. I said, okay. And I will marry into the Kennedy family.
Oh, wow.
I swear that's what he told me. And I wrote that down. I've got pictures of me and him somewhere. And oh my goodness. And when I saw that happening, he wasn't having a no or fear or escape from nothing. He was there on a mission from God to get into a place where he could entertain millions of people. We all have that in us. We all have the chance to do. Everyone's got a niche in market, no matter what it is. It might be juggling, painting, doctor, nurse, whatever it is. We need to find that niche, and we need to believe that we're the best in the industry. I go down in the corner, he cleans cars. You know what I tell him every day when he comes? You are the best valeter car cleaner I have ever seen. Ever seen. I don't know whether he is or not, but he believes he is now. And that's the point.
That's the point. That's the point. So you conquered it. So conquering that fear, you said it, stepping into it, step into your destiny, step into your purpose. We have a motivational speaker friend of the podcast, Dr. Eric Thomas. But he always said you have to want it as much as you need to breathe, right? That same necessity you have for breathing, that's how much you need to want it. So Doc, tell us about your book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. I really love the title, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, mainly because we cover a lot of children of adult alcoholics, or children of alcoholics, adult children of alcoholics, and how that goes back to the childhood trauma. I love the title. Can you talk to us about your book?
Yeah, I'd love to. My book, got to tell you a little pre-story first, because that's where the title comes from. I'm sat with my kids one day, wife has left, and I brought my kids into the lounge. I sat him down in front of the TV. I walked into the kitchen, and I just opened one beer. Just had one drink to celebrate getting my kids back. The top came off. 3 days after, when I was unconscious and the police kicked the door in, the 2 kids, 1 and 3, have not been changed diapers. They've not been fed. They're almost starving to death and nearly died. The policeman kicked me and served me papers for unfit father. As they were dragging my children down, the 3-year-old turned around and she says, Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. And then she turned around and says, Daddy, Daddy, do you please get better? And the last thing she said as she walked around the corner was, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. 22 years passed, and I never seen my daughter. 18 months ago, just before the book came out, I got a message on Facebook saying, Dad, can you come over and see me? I miss you. I've been over to England 4 times. I've held my granddaughter, who has 1. We have an amazing relationship today. So the book is about that. The book is about my story. The book is about inspirational stuff. The book is informational stuff for families. And the best thing of all is, you hear people say, well, I've got a book out there and all the profits go to, gotta watch that word, profits go, no. All the proceeds, every single dime that's spent on the book on Amazon, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, goes back into the community. $250,000 last year from Robb Kelly Recovery went to buying cars, buying apartments, Christmas presents for the kids. You've got to be in recovery. You've got to be a single parent family. And this is what we do. We donate to good causes because that's what God tells us to do. So that's what the book's about. If you enjoy it, there's a deal. If you pay, it's $14.99. I think it's free if you do electronic. If you want the book, go on it, buy it. If you don't like it, give me a call. You know what my number is. I'll refund your money. It's that good. I mean, it really is. If you're an alcoholic, you'll get it, or a drug addict, you'll get it. If you're a mom or dad or wife of an alcoholic, it'll make you cry. It'll make you weep, and it'll make you laugh, and it will give you hope at the end of the day.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. I got emotional. The fact that you recently reunited with your daughter, you were patient. And the most important thing about that, Doc, is a lot of people try to do the recovery process for other people, and it may still be subconscious. I'm doing this for my kids, but then it may take 15 to 20 years for your kid to come around. So if your recovery is built on that, you're going to relapse, right? So you did it for the right reasons and you were patient, right? You didn't go hounding them. You waited, you kept doing the work. And God, and you finally reunited. That's so beautiful.
Hey, do you want to know something else, Pop? Listen to this. So 18 months ago, we started to talk. I went over there to see her, and I said, what are you going to do with your life? And little Alice, and she said, Dad, I want to become a drug counselor. I really want to come. So I said, okay, I'm going to pay for you to go to college. So she went to college, and 2 weeks ago, she graduated with a diploma in drug counseling. So now she's going to be working with a dad.
Oh, look at that. Isn't that's something else. Wow, that brought chills to my spine. And that's the thing I tell people. I tell people, watch this. Every day you choose recovery, you're going to get a gift in some way. It may be an idea. It may be a phone call. It may be some form of thing that you're able to accomplish in your life. You may be some project, something. You have to watch it. An epiphany. There's always gifts every day. Like, you're a gift to me today. You're a gift to the Sober is Dope community today, right? We woke up today. It was a big day. My family's excited. Everyone is saying today's a big day, right? You stick in there, you don't have fear, and you believe, and then recovery gives you back in plentyfold, right? So thank you for that, Doc. I really needed to hear that. Before we wrap up, a few things. Your treatment, can you tell the world and the community? We have a lot of people that listen to the podcast. Like, anyone that's struggling, they reach out to you. What can they expect? Give us a little overview of your treatment process, your aftercare, and your work that you do at the Robb Kelly Recovery Group.
So what we do is a 90-day program, and it's 1 hour a day, 7 days a week for 90 days. You said spend 5 days with me on the internet. We do Zoom because it's HIPAA compliant. So we do telehealth, 5 days with me, 2 days with my psychotherapist, and it's a 90-day program. And what we're basically doing is we're changing the way you think, we're changing the way you behave. You get lots of homework. There's check-ins 4 times a day with Janet. We're always calling you, following up, man. And the idea is, when you get to the 90 days, you've got the job back or a new job. You've got the wife back, or you've got a new girlfriend. You're seeing your kids again. It's the family reunite. We've been reuniting families since the year 2000 or something like that. This is what we specialize in. It's not the drink and the drug, guys. Forget about that. That's a given. I guarantee you'll never use a drink again with my program. Don't forget psychic change, spiritual awakening, DNA change. You're not the same man. And all this together brings this fantastic program. And then what we do after that, after the 90 days is finished, you think, oh, well, that's it, Rob. I'll just shoot off. I'll see you later. No. Every month, you get 30 minutes with me personally, free of charge for the rest of your life. Wow. That's my commitment into you. And what we say here at Robb Kelly Recovery Group is you pay for an hour a day, we'll put in 2 hours a day. So it's a 3 hour a day, really. Because I'm not taking anybody on who just mommy and daddy wants to pay for it. That's not my patient. Go away, go to a treatment center. I'm talking to guys that really want to get well. If you want to invest in yourself, I'm going to invest in you as well. Because I'm going to show you that I'm confident to get you a place where you'll have a life beyond your wildest dreams and nothing is impossible. And you'll be an absolute gentleman. Talk accordingly, speak accordingly, and act accordingly. And you'll just become empowered. And everybody around you will think you've had something implanted in your brain. That's what most people do. We have an office that we used to use for a massage office. We've had to take it all out. It's just cards of people saying, I can't believe my son's been in treatment for 20 times and he's now 3 years sober. And he's like, this is a passion. It isn't a job. It's a passion. We only take on 4 patients at any one time. So every 90 days, 4 patients only. I ain't taking 5 because your time is my time. And I will do whatever it takes. Like if you go missing in Florida somewhere and we have a plane, I'm jumping on the plane, I'm flying down there and I'm going to come and get you. And if you want to try and argue against it, I'm going to handcuff you and I'm going to stick you in. I have somebody in Florida that'll stick you in jail until you want to come back with me. Because my guarantees to you is I'll get you to a different place, whether you want to or not. Once you pass your assessment and you have a mustard seed that wants to get well, I'll hold your hand. I'll fight your disease, guys. I will fight your disease toe to toe. And I'm a pretty good fighter, being on the streets for a year. Bare knuckle Boston and stuff. I'll stand toe to toe with your disease. And I tell you now, if you're a betting man, you need to bet on me.
Wow, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The superhero episode of the Sober is Dope podcast, the great Robb Kelly. Robb, that is so amazing. And that mustard seed, is that mustard seed the 1% willingness to change? Is that the mustard seed? All right, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes all you need, in most cases, all the time, is a 1% willingness to change. And then if you're really sincere, so for everyone out there that's listening to this episode, don't fool yourself. Don't trick yourself. Addiction is nasty. The best thing that we can say to you is be extremely honest. When you're ready, when you're willing to do the work, you could get there, but you have to be certain. You have to be willing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Sober Dope podcast. I'm so excited. Dr. Robb, before we go, any advice to the recovery community, and can you let everyone know where they can find you and how they can find you, your website and everything?
Guys, if you're in the recovery world already, start doing something different. Go to a meeting to bear witness that are still suffering alcoholic. Don't go because you need a meeting. If you're suffering out there, guys, or you know a loved one that's suffering, it's always best to act than leave it alone until it gets to the alcoholism or addiction stage. Make no bones about it. There are hundreds of thousands of people a year dying of alcoholism, and another 100,000 dying of overdoses and drug addiction. The records are not kept, and I'm not going to go into why they're not kept, but alcohol and drug addiction is the biggest killer out there. You need to treat it. We have an epidemic on our hands. Now listen, I'm going to do two things. So ROBBKELLY.com, RobbKelly.com with 2 B's. Jump on my website, Google Dr. Robb Kelly, all the stuff is there. But listen, I'm so impressed with what Pop does on here. And I'm blown away the connection that me and him had. That just for your listeners, Pop, I'm going to give you my personal phone number. And I'll tell you why I'm going to do this. Because if you have any loved ones out there that are worried, if you have any guys out there that go, I can't afford to go to treatment, or I don't know, call me up. It ain't going to cost you anything for a 30-minute phone call with me. I will direct you. I'll give you a pep talk that'll blow your mind, because we need to do this. This podcast is the best podcast I've been on. And you do such an amazing job. So I want your listeners to benefit from this. Okay, guys? So get a pen. It's going to come across the screen later, no doubt. But 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone. Nobody gets my personal cell phone. But you guys listening today, call me up. If you're having a bad day and go, oh, God, I've got work in the morning, I wish you could spend 10 minutes with Dr. Robb, call me. Your life will be changed in 10 minutes. And you got Pop to thank, not me. I'm doing this because this man is an amazing guy. I look up to him. He's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Doc. And likewise, right back at you. Thank you for showing us love. You blessed us today with your grace. And God bless you for all the hard work you do. It doesn't fall on deaf ears. We love you. God bless you, Doc. And we will have you on again. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Sober is Dope podcast. That's a wrap with our episode with the amazing Dr. Robb Kelly. I'll catch you guys on the other side.